You remember the very moment when the French president, Emmanuel Macron, got fired by most African leaders because he made an unfounded and unfortunate statement when he met his senators about the withdrawal of French troops in West Africa, which sought to paint a picture that the military presence, the French military presence in Africa are the main reason why most of these African countries are able to claim sovereignty. Yes. So this statement sparked several controversies and several backlashes from most prominent African leaders. Well, let me tell you, another one has fallen. Another big military base has fallen in Senegal. Senegal on Thursday, the 7th of July 2025, has closed its military ties with France, leaving France with no permanent military base in West and Central Africa. Kindly subscribe, like, and share to stay updated with African geopolitics, economic freedom, and lifestyle. Let's get into it.
Our independence is privileged unless it links up with total liberation of the African continent.
In the early part of this year, the French president Emmanuel Macron met his Senate and he made a statement that the French troops are leaving Africa because it is time for them to leave, and that they were leaving on their own volition. You understand? And that the African countries have forgotten to say thank you to France, because if not for France, they could not claim sovereignty. And I wonder what kind of sovereignty he was talking about, because first you colonized them, and so they only gained political sovereignty. They didn't gain economic sovereignty because you placed the military bases in them. All right? And you are not, so I don't know which sovereignty he was talking about. Whether in any case, he was right, because if they were not colonized, they wouldn't be talking about sovereignty, and you colonized them. And if their economies were not taken over by France, they wouldn't be fighting for sovereignty because they will have it already. So we woke up on the 7th of July 2025 to the news that French has finally handed over its military base to the government of Senegal. And I'm reading this from France 24, which says, France hands back last military base in Senegal, ending 65-year troop presence. So it goes to say that France formally handed back on Thursday its last military base in Senegal, leaving the French army with no permanent camp in West and Central Africa. Camp Gili, France's largest base in the West African country, and its airfield at Dakar Airport were returned in the ceremony attended by top French and Senegalese officials. The withdrawal ends the French Army's 65-year in Senegal and comes after military withdrawal across the continent, with former colonies increasingly turning their back on their former ruler. Around 350 French soldiers, primarily tasked with conducting joint operations with the Senegalese army, will leave the West African nation after a 3-month departure process. France started ceding its bases to Senegal in March. You remember the Senegalese government gave them an ultimatum. They gave you an ultimatum to leave. And Senegalese government said by early 2025, the process should have been done. And yes, you are even lucky it has dragged up to the middle of 2025. After storming a victory in 2024 election comprising radical change, Senegal's president Bassirou Diomaye Faye demanded France withdraw troops from the country by 2025. Unlike the leaders of other former colonies such as junta-run Burkina Faso, Mali, and Niger, however, Faye has insisted that Senegal will keep working with Paris. Folks, you know, the main issue started in Mali, when General Assimi Goïta took over Mali and vowed that he was going to run anti-imperial and anti-colonial government. So they drove the military, the French forces away. Then followed Burkina Faso. Burkina Faso, after Ibrahim Traoré took over, he also asked the French troops to leave. Then came Niger. When General Chiani also took over, the Niger people demanded that the French people leave. They even attacked the French embassy and asked them to leave. So the first question you should be asking yourself is, why are these people asking you to leave? Why are they asking you to leave if you were doing any good to them? First of all, you brought these military bases to help fight terrorist groups. But then, according to General Chani, since the French troops started this fight against terrorism, it escalated, and then the terrorist issues became worse. So it became difficult tackling these terrorist groups. Why? Because the French military commanders were collaborating with these terrorist groups, and they were negotiating with them, which is not a secret, because the same thing happened in Libya. They created the terrorist groups in Libya. You see, all this hypocritic West, that is what they do. It is the same thing Israel created Hamas, and now they are fighting Hamas. Now they are there in Palestine again, supporting another terrorist group, or another group which claim to be freedom fighters. Israel is supporting them again. And the same way, if they turn against them, if they now resist their oppression, then they will tend to fight against them, to call them terrorists and fight against them again. It is the same thing these people do. France started the fight against Gaddafi. He tried everything to get Gaddafi. They were not getting, because Gaddafi said that, Muhammad Gaddafi said, we were not going to trade, we are going to create our own currency in Africa, gold currency, and we are going to trade within these ourselves and trade in these currencies and not in dollar or euros or pounds. So they decided that they must eliminate Gaddafi. These are not hidden informations. They are in the internet. You can find them. CIA documentaries. They follow these. They tried to get Gaddafi. They couldn't get him. And then what they did finally was to create terrorist groups and to incite Gaddafi against his own people. So after killing Gaddafi and leaving Libya in impoverishment, the terrorist groups now flew from Libya to Mali. And that was why General Assimi Goïta said, I cannot sit down and watch this happen. So he took over and he started fighting them. And the same thing, this France are the people supporting these terrorist groups. It is a known secret. It is not something that is hidden. We are not going to hide it. Okay? Here we speak the truth. Whether it suits you or not, we will say it. All right? So this is what they have been doing. So what we will do today is to urge the president of Senegal that, President, you are endowed with so many resources in your country. God has blessed your country with so many resources. You have phosphate in larger quantities. You have gold in larger quantities. Phosphate is very important for creating phosphate-based fertilizers to enhance the agricultural sector in Senegal. Engage your youth, engage the local companies, the local businesses, and exploit the talents in the youth to create these fertilizers and other things. Africa is no longer where it was yesterday. Africa has risen above that. Please employ these ones and take over your gold mines. If you send the military bases away and you don't take over the gold mine, because all these things, they brought the military bases and then they will say, okay, so we will need the resources in order to take care of the military bases. Then you allocate the gold mines to them. And that is what they will use to take, according to them, they will use to take care of to spend on the military as they are stationed in your country. So now, Burkina Faso has taken over its gold mines. Niger has taken over the uranium mines. Assimi Goïta of Mali has taken over their gold mines. And so, you should do the same. Don't allow these people to come and exploit your country and go this way. Cooperate with the private companies in the local private companies so that you can now be talking about equity and not royalties. These foreign companies only pay royalties, which is a fixed amount. It doesn't depend on how much gold or how much profit they make in each year. Okay, they pay a fixed amount to the government. Then, but if you terminate these contracts and hand them over to local companies, then you can cooperate with the local companies, and then you now talk of equity. You share, you buy shares in these companies, and you can share equity and not royalties. This is the only way Africa will develop. This is the only way that Africa will be able to exploit its resources and take care of its own people and not depend on any other foreign country. I watched your statement when you went to the White House with other 4 African countries to visit President Trump. All of you there were talking about, I have these resources, I have these resources, I have this in my country. Why are you selling your resources out? And I learned you want to build an ultra-modern city and all that. Please, you can do this on your own without anyone's input. You can do it if you play your cards well. That is it. If you manage your country well, if you manage the economy well, you can do it. You can only sort technocrats to come and build and you will pay them. but not give your contracts to them, not to ask them to come and exploit your resources and build a ultra-modern cities. I'm going to make a video on your trip, the trip of the 5 African presidents to the White House and the drama that unfolded. I'm going to make a separate video for that. You saw how President Trump humiliated you people. Some of you, I mean, let me be more precise. Some of you, a world leader or a president asking his colleague president to end his statement faster so that because he doesn't have more time. You can imagine that. And asking somebody where you learned your English from, because he has some other people on this table who cannot even speak English. Forgetting that it is not every African country that speaks English as a first language. How dumb people can be. And yet you guys went and sat there and sold yourself. You were in prison when the people voted for you. The people chose you for a reason. They chose you because they knew that you could come out and serve them better than the previous puppet they had. So don't disappoint your own people. Use the talent they have seen in you, the potential they have seen in you that made them to vote you into power to turn the country's fortune around. And make sure you deliver very well to your own people. So that is what's happened. That is the good news we have to say today, because, I mean, I love it. And please, we know these people will come after you. They are going to come after you. France, the same thing they did to Thomas Sankara. And the same thing they are doing to Ibrahim Traore. They have hired assassins, sent billions into Burkina Faso just to sponsor terrorists in order to get rid of Ibrahim Traore. But you know, they have forgotten that the Africa yesterday is not the Africa today. And there is no way you can turn them against their own people like you did in other African countries. That story must end. We are taking our own decisions. We are telling you that it is time to go. Allow us to take our own decisions and to manage our own affairs. Simple. Simplicity. And this is what we are going to encourage all African countries. You can imagine, look at what happened in Ghana. Ghana's new government came in and created a gold board that will be in charge of buying gold from small-scale miners and selling it out. Then, boom, the United States released a statement that Ghana is an unsafe country. All of a sudden, no violence, nothing recorded in Ghana, but all of a sudden, just simply because we are going to now buy our own gold, we will not allow you to buy gold from illegal miners, or we will not allow you to illegally buy gold from our country. Then you will tag our country as unsafe. So you can imagine these people. They claim that they are democratic countries. That kind of democracy you guys are thinking of in Africa, that is not the kind of democracy they meant. We claim to have borrowed the democracy from them, but they are not practicing democracy. They partner with terrorists today if they are working in their favor. They partner with terrorists today if they are killing people in their favor. That is what they do. They are only against you, or they will tag you as a terrorist. You are called a terrorist if you are against their policies. But you can be the real terrorist and still, if you are, and you can be the real terrorist, and if you are buying into their policies, then you become a good person. Somebody who was tagged as a terrorist in Syria was all of a sudden praised by President Trump. He was placed wanted. He was placed as a world terrorist. So you see, when they see that there is something they can get from you, then you are no terrorist. But if they see that you are against them, or you stand on their way to achieve their goals, then you become a terrorist. These are the kind of people you are dealing with. And still we have African leaders who believe in them. They want to deplete your resources, then you will come and kneel before them to beg them. And that is where you will understand. The earlier our African leaders take matters into their own hands, create your own, support the private sector, create your companies or your gold mining companies, and take care of. In Ghana, for instance, I have seen some companies coming up who are trying to start large-scale mining. Because, name it, all the African countries except South Africa, they are dependent on these large-scale miners to exploit their resources. And they take all the booties home. They take all the bounties to their various countries. Canada, Australia, USA, France, and all that. Leaving Africa with nothing. Royalties, 3%. The maximum is 6%. And how many African countries are taking 6% royalties from foreign companies? So the earlier we think about this, we go deeply into this and think, and what I don't understand about these African leaders, you do everything to get into power, but you are not ready to do everything to serve the people. What is wrong with us? Please, you should not allow your fellow world leaders to bully you around. It is your country. You will take your decisions. If you ask those if you ask those contracts to the large-scale mining in your country to be closed, they are going to be closed. Your people are suffering because you are not taking the right decisions. Take the right decisions and help your people and let everyone stand on their feet. Don't carry the money to other countries to go and buy property, like what is happening to the vice president of Guinea-Bissau. He went and bought a house, $100 million house in France. And now France has taken it, saying the money was gotten from corrupt sources. And now they have seized the building and they are going to sell the building. You went to ICCJ and they didn't mind you. And now you have run back to ICCJ again, that they should stop France from selling that house. Why did you build the house in France? Why didn't you build the house in Guinea? What prevented you from raising that beautiful building in Guinea so that somebody will also travel and come and see it and know that Guinea is developing? That is the lessons they should be teaching you African leaders who have failed to develop your own countries, but to go and develop other people's countries. I support them. They should sell it. And they should not even give you anything from the money. Then you guys will learn sense. You will learn to develop your own countries and stop that nonsense. Thank you very much for attention, and I will see you again in my next episode. Kindly subscribe, like, and share the video so that other people can also watch.